But yeah, no. So I wanted to. We could kind of touch on some of the. We've been reading this book about the whole out of body experience stuff, and at the end of the day, it just really piques mine and Matthew's curiosity in things on just consciousness and the brain and the mind and how we perceive it all and how it all works.
So yeah, we actually been out of body this whole time.
Yeah, we're
cool.
not here. We're here, but right now, me and Matt
but we're
are
also
at the bar.
over there. But we're also right here.
Yeah, we're turn around. We're behind you. No, but yeah, some of it is just it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've got a working theory, and I think we kind of stated or posited it. You would say last episode. But I think to wrap it, or just actually give it to clearly state what it is, and as far as remote viewing, so say out of body, and specifically speaking to remote viewing, which would be the ability to go out of body, go somewhere else, outside of the proximity of where you are, and observe anything, and be able to, sense and gather, perceive that something like, say, a piece of paper, or if somebody perceived
an object,
and have that knowledge,
yes.
Transfer, basically have seen it. So like if I were to go out of body, go to the other side of the world and be able to tell you what's inside a box, or if there's a person alive, say for some, trying to find out something meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that looking at the whole theory of quantum entanglement, that theoretically, if I'm looking for the closest scientific explanation, then that would be it. It would be that whatever our, metaphysical form is quantum entangled, and we'll say in this theory that it's within the pineal gland, right? So we'll say that we're quantum entangled there, we go out of body elsewhere, and through quantum entanglement, whatever our metaphysical self is sensing or perceiving or experiencing in whatever form we don't understand, is because it's entangled, is being transmitted and experienced and felt inside our in our brain, in our pineal gland. And this would, like Chris was saying, this would be theoretically the pineal gland is what's converting however it's sensing all that into something that would coordinate or correlate with our five senses. So if our metaphysical self is able to decipher,
that's relaying,
that
info.
Like there's what this piece of paper says. Obviously our metaphysical self doesn't have eyes, ears, or anything, but it's able to somehow sense in whatever way and perceive this information that's being experienced.
Like your Wi-Fi connector to the universe.
But it's being experienced in our pineal gland simultaneously through entanglement, and then whatever our pineal gland is doing all the magic or whatever of converting that data into how it would correlate to our brain if we were looking at it.
Yeah.
So it's basically like, converting all that data that's being sensed on a metaphysical scale into how we would interpret it biologically.
Yeah.
A spreadsheet that you would look at.
Yeah. So that, at least that's that. If we were trying to come up with a scientific explanation, I mean, that's the best one I can think of. And we've listened to a lot of different podcasts and read things, and this is weird that I feel like neither of us have seen that connection.
Yeah, quantum entanglement hasn't
in any of them.
I have 55 pages left in this book to read about astral projection, and I'll say that one thing that this is again a reason that I was interested in getting this book and learning about some of these things, is I didn't know. I thought astral projection was what they originally called remote viewing in the early days, before they understood that, it's like that what they were doing was, I felt like or astral projection is just what they called it before they understood.
I think
really
remote viewing might just be a component of.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it's a component of it. In a sense, it's almost different. It's separate in a way from what I'm understanding, because I have to go further, because again, but they just addressed it in the end of the last chapter. They brought up remote viewing, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even think they were going to talk about it, because the whole book, they never mentioned it. And then finally, near the end of this last chapter, they say remote viewing and how it differs from astral projection. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And so they're, it is different, number one, and I guess like where it originated, and also too, it's because that's the thing too about some of the astral projection and the out of body stuff, is they were saying that it's like there's different training methods that they've made up to where, you know, some people, it's like they can happen spontaneously or whatever.
And it
So
might
it's a
be the
totally
intention
different
behind
field.
it. Because also I know that there's an astral
The
projection.
intention's a huge thing.
Yeah,
You're right.
It's
yes.
massive. That astral projection, I'm just
Speculating.
speculating that
yeah.
because it's literally maybe the ability to manifest a vision or a specter, we'll say, of yourself elsewhere. Because you've read some things, I think, in the book where they talk about somebody like willing themselves and like somebody being like, I saw you in my hallway. Because they were trying, that maybe would be astrally projecting yourself.
Doesn't that age, like, I feel like I've heard say where it was like, because it was something that like Anton LaVey and a lot of them were into, like astral projection and stuff like that. Do you know what I'm talking about, Brent? Where it was like talking about like almost like astronauts in space, where it was like it talks about how it like ages the body to like go through it, where it was like
Okay, yeah.
like and it's not like, don't hold me to it.
No, I see.
Like,
Yeah, I really just don't know.
Like, I mean, and look into it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
No, I see. I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah.
Aging people.
Yeah.
Too, like in that same way.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, because all this kind of talks about being in a realm outside of time, or like I said, I think quantum theory is like eternity theory, like the existence of matter and of existence outside of the measurement of time. Almost,
and that's what I was saying too about. I re-listened to our episode the other day where we brought this up, and I had mentioned about ghosts. And you had brought that up about that's how that brings in eternity, about how it's like, so say you were to entertain the thought for a moment that astral projection or remote viewing and all that is real, that you can leave the body and go to another place. So say if you could go to a physical place, could you not also go to a place not in that current time right now in live time? Because that's the whole thing with astral or remote viewing, is that remote viewing is more or less going to that place in the here and now and seeing what's happening.
Yeah, that's the intention of it.
Exactly. Right. That's the main priority aim of it, has been to go to that place there and now. But it's like, I'm wondering, what if also, you know, again, this is with the whole concept, and this is just, again, speculation, whatever, but with ghosts and things, say maybe it's people astrally projecting themselves to the future. And like you said, the same way that one guy said he saw his double, is that it's like, you know, he saw that guy's duplicate at his house outside his window or whatever. He was like, you know, I saw you at my house last night. And he's like, wait, what? And the guy was intending to astrally project himself to his friend's house, but fell asleep, thought he didn't do it. Turns out his friend woke up the next day, was scared shitless, like, buddy, you were at my house last night. So it's like, in a sense, I entertain the idea that maybe ghost or whatever people, it's, I saw some Civil War guy, maybe that dude was like tripped out on some mushrooms in the woods, licked a frog, and he's like,
and he was,
I'm gonna fucking project to the future. And everybody, we see him as dead, but it's like, that dude's alive and we're in the future.
That's crazy, dude. There's this movie Synchronicity. You need to see this movie Synchronicity. That deal, came out a couple of years ago.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it had like Anthony Mackie and some other guy, but it's like deals with this like
that makes
drug
sense
that comes out that literally like triggers the pineal gland, where people like are trip out and or get lost in time. Like they'll be in like their metaphysical self is like in a temporary state that wears off like a drug, but like they're experiencing different times, and it's called Synchronicity. But you need to see it because it kind of it ties in with all this stuff, dude.
That's crazy.
So
no, I had that thought because it was like, so say that was all real and you could project to a certain place, and it's like, you know. But Brent, does any of this? Do you have anything that clicks in your head? What we're saying about any of this sound familiar?
Yeah, synchronic, not synchronicity.
Movies that sound hits with, or anything you've ever thought of?
Right off the bat, what?
Or near death, like it's like
just. I mean, I have my own opinion on what ghosts are, but I've never thought of it that way.
Right now,
that's a cool way to think of it. And this actually is like how they did it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they fucking.
It's trying to scientifically, literally ground.
Because we've always just looked at a ghost as that it's like, because you say it's like, oh yeah, I saw some old Civil War dude or some old lady in white or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, some old dead person. It's like maybe, yeah, it's like we think of them dead because they were in the quote past. It's like maybe it's whatever some crazy time travel glitch, because then people say, well, because then maybe it could feed over into the whole thing where people say it's all a simulation and things like that, or that we're talking about the split gap theory. What
this double slit experiment.
Double slit experiment.
Where just
The observer.
The observer effect.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But no, yeah, Stephen Chronic. That was the name of it. But no, yeah, it's about there's this drug that warps the pineal gland's perception of time. It sends users backwards through history, but children experience full-time travel because their pineal gland isn't fully hardened or whatever yet. So it deals with like kids disappearing, but adults they it didn't have a lasting effect on them. So yeah, exactly. It hasn't been calcified, so it's really a cool movie because it touches on some of that stuff.
I want you to like text me that, or I want to take a picture. Leave it up. Let me take a picture of it.
Anthony Mackie was in that?
Yeah, and Benson Moorhead, the two guys, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, all the movies have been really cool and thought provoking. Like this movie, The Endless. I don't know if you've heard The Endless was really good. They did. They've done a few things, but yeah.
I wanted to